Good evening. Trust you're doing well on this second day of April 2023. Much has happened in the country, including the mass demonstrations have been called off. That and much more after the highlights. Opposition calls off mass protest after President William Ruto's appeal to call off the mass demonstrations. Media stakeholders ask government to protect journalists as concerns of attack on the media are on the rise. Five killed in a grisly road accident along the Kisii-Keroka Road. And tonight, we bring you a special feature on autism as the world marks World Autism Day. All right, welcome to the broadcast. I'm in the company of Samuel Kelo, is a sign language interpreter tonight. I am an ODIDA. Now, Azimio leader Raila Odinga has called off countrywide mass protest after President William Ruto addressed the nation, urging Odinga to call off the demonstrations to give room for talks. In a rejoinder, Raila, who addressed the nation from his capital office on Sunday, said Ruto's statement is important and important for the country's development. Take a look.
As leaders, it is our responsibility in Azimio la Umoja to save this country from the catastrophe. We as Azimio la Umoja have resolved the following. 1. We acknowledge Mr. Ruto's olive branch for a dialogue on key issues raised by Azimio la Umoja. To us, this is a positive development. 2, we agree that a balanced parliamentary process, co-chaired by both sides and backed by experts from outside, should proceed. In our view, this committee must be composed with immediate effect, with strict deadlines for resolving the crisis facing the country. 4. In accepting the call for the dialogue, we ask that all arrests and prosecutions related to our demonstrations be stopped with immediate effect. In view of the foregoing, we stand down our demonstrations for Monday, that is tomorrow, April 3rd, 2023. 6. But in doing so, we want to emphasize that the right to assemble, to demonstrate, petition, and to speak are ironclad as provided for in our Constitution. 7, therefore, we reserve our rights to call for demonstrations should this process not bear fruit. Should there be no meaningful engagement or response from Hon Ruto to our counter-offer, we resolve to resume our demonstrations after 1 week.
All right, now media stakeholders, including Kenya Editors Guild President Churchill Otieno, Kenya Union of Journalists Secretary General Eric Oduor, and AMWIC Executive Director Patience Nyange, had earlier today petitioned the government to protect journalists and allow them to exercise their democratic duty of informing the public. The media leaders demanded that Director of Public Prosecution Odin Haji to fast-track an independent investigation in order to bring to book perpetrators who attacked journalists covering the opposition mass demonstrations. On Thursday, 6 journalists were injured during the Azimio mass protests. The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops and the African Independent Pentecostal Church of Africa had also earlier today asked Azimio leader and former Prime Minister Honorable Raila Odinga to suspend the anti-government protest and seek an audience with President William Ruto. The church leaders condemned the Azimio anti-government demos, terming them as destructive to the nation.
The Kenya Conference of Catholic Diocese Bishops Chair and the Archbishop of the Catholic Archdiocese of Mombasa, Martin Kivuva, have called on leaders from both political divides to loosen their hard political stance and embrace dialogue so as to end chaos that have seen disruption of properties and loss of lives.
Just pray for our leaders in the nation, both opposition and government, to speedily embark on constructive, inclusive dialogue to address the challenges facing our nation.
Murang'a Catholic Diocese Bishop Maria Wainaina has also urged the government to heed on the Azimio's needs, also calling on the President William Ruto to listen to the Azimio leaders and have a dialogue with them to end the demos and find solutions.
May our President, the Honorable Dr. William Ruto, lead the government side to accept to listen to Azimio.
On the other hand, Narok Town African Independent Pentecostal Church of Africa, through the church leader Benjamin Napasho, called on leaders from both sides of political affiliation to strive for peace to bring and end tension in the country.
Sehemu zote za nchi yetu kuwe na amani, kuwe na uamani katika viongozi na hata katika familia zetu.
Asking Raila Odinga and his team, please stop destroying the property and life of the people of the Republic of Kenya, and Kenyans have moved on.
In the wake of intensified anti-government protests across the country that have resulted in loss of lives and destruction of property, leaders are urged to take a peace-building role to quell the unrest for the betterment of the nation. Dorothy Musyoka, KU TV.
All right, now, Autism Awareness Day, which is marked on the 2nd of April each year, is a day that is marked to celebrate people living with autism, as well as to create awareness about the condition. In respect to the day, our reporter Ruth Wanjiru prepared this special feature on Autism Awareness Day. Take a look. All right, my director is telling me we will be bringing you that story after this break.
Focus on Health is a show that creates awareness on matters health and informs you on various diseases, their causes, treatment, prevention, coping, and support. So join me, Boari Michelle, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. only on KU TV. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at KU TV Focus on Health on Facebook and also on YouTube, and Health Focus on Instagram, because your health is your wealth. Stay safe and stay healthy.
I say, some people look at me and they're like, oh, Tab is a software engineer, or why are you not doing software engineering? I could do it, I can code if I want to, but is that where my passion is? No, for me that thing that I loved was community, and when I realized that, I was doing it as a voluntary thing, but when I realized that, oh, this is something that you can actually do it as a career, so I said, okay, I made the switch because it's something I can do very well at any point in time. And even some of the products like Google Crowdsource, if you ask me about it, I can really tell you about it without even having to look at any point, you know.
It's the kind of life I ever wanted. Money, power, moves, and it does. And I also went to like a seminary school too, like where I'm supposed to be like a reverend father. I've always been around music all my life. Yeah, I mean, it's up to every artist to know what motivates them. I saw you with the content, tell me nonsense. Say we no get him, memo take the content. Check my watch, you go see na God's timing.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's get that a special feature on autism by our very own Ruth Wanjiru.
Disorder, or commonly referred to as autism, is recognized by the World Health Organization as a growing global public concern. According to the WHO statistics, about one child in every 100 children are diagnosed with autism, with over 168 million people suffering from the spectrum worldwide. In Kenya, 1 in every 25 children is autistic, which translates to about 4% of the Kenyan population. In the outskirts of Nairobi, we meet Margaret Wairimu, a teacher at the Democrats group of schools in Uthiru. Margaret has a 4-year-old autistic child named Jonathan. She discovered that her son had autism a few weeks after his birth, when the doctor told her that Jonathan will have delayed milestones when growing up.
Yeah, I was told by the doctor that he'll be having a delayed milestone and he has a challenge in his growth.
According to Margaret, the discovery came as a shock as she had attended all her antenatal clinics as advised during her pregnancy.
So when I was told, I was so shocked, since I did not imagine that my child could be having such a condition, since during my period I went to the clinic and it was not identified, only to know at birth that my child has a condition.
Given that Jonathan's condition requires attention at all times, Margaret teaches with him in class. Jonathan's bed can be seen neatly made at the back of the class, where everything he needs is available, including his toys. According to Margaret, the other children interact with him without treating him differently.
The others have accepted him the way he is, and they play with him. If he's not sick, he's calm, so he's able to concentrate and stay calm in class. And the teacher is good, loving, and patient with him.
In relation to challenges of raising an autistic child, Margaret explains that the condition is demanding both financially and mentally, and the fact that the society makes it hard to raise an autistic due to discrimination.
Society, they don't accept us. You find like when you go to church and the child makes noise, everyone is staring at you and it's like you should not be here. But if they let the society know they should accept the children and live with them, that advert, yes.
According to Dr. Shali Ogutu, a medical officer, autism is more of a spectrum than a disease. Dr. Shali explains that there is no known cure for autism, as the condition falls under different categories.
This is a neurocognitive disorder that's associated with, let's say, communication disturbances, mostly, amongst other things like social interaction for young children, but as they develop, can advance to older age.
In relation to the signs to note when the child is autistic, Dr. Shali explains the early symptoms.
It's just, lack of that sort of interactiveness that children have. You find a child tends to be more isolated or more fixated on one thing or the other, might not be as forthcoming to other children, or might not even be communicating well with others, might not be picking up on social cues in terms of emotion or perceiving how others around them are feeling or the mood they're in. So they may tend to seem a bit distant.
In Mathare, we met Lucy, who also has an autistic child named Emmanuel.
They don't cry because of the pain.
Out of her 3 children, Emmanuel is the only one who suffers from the condition. Emmanuel was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, but he had shown signs of the condition at 7 months. According to his mother, Emmanuel lost his milestone at 7 months, which became worse later on.
I had seen the doctor when he was, how many months? 7 months. He lose all milestones. He was sitting, akaanza sasa kurudi nyuma. So we went to the doctor. That is when we were put on therapy.
Lucy also explains that the biggest challenge in raising an autistic child is patience, as a parent has to be tolerant with the slow and repetitive nature of autism.
Patience and tolerance, because it is not an easy journey. It is not at all. Saa zingine you break down kabisa. Una break down because you feel like society saa zingine ielewi.
We later joined Emmanuel for his therapy session, where we meet Lazarus Maraka, an occupation therapist at the Mathare Therapy Center. The therapy center offers free therapy sessions to children who are either autistic or have any other related conditions. Lazarus explains to us that therapy is available for an autistic child. According to Lazarus, each therapy depends on the condition of the child.
Occupational therapy, kuna speech therapy, then times kuna physiotherapy whereby mtoto ako autistic but akona physical challenges.
Lazarus also explains how he monitors development in children, as autism entails milestones regression.
Ongea na mzazi, unauliza mzazi akuelezea huko nyumbani mtoto anaendeleaje, kisha kuelezea kitu yenye inafuata pia wewe unafanya your own observation. Either unaangalia mtoto mara ya kwanza ukimwangalia alikuwa activity level yake ilikuwa like, ama concentration span yake ilikuwa how long.
Even though autism has no known cure, the question still remains what the society role in creating awareness stands at. At the Mathare Therapy Center, the ODIDAs, who are the founders of the center, offer free therapy sessions for low-income families around Nairobi. At the Democrats group of schools, the school accepts children who are autistic, even though they are not a special needs school. What drives the passion to help these children?
It is because during our trips to various children's homes, we came across children who have what we call silent disabilities like autism, and this really moved us because we realized that without proper interventions for them and without the proper support, they will not be able to make it.
So we took it as I will not say as a burden, but I will call it a challenge, because we can only inspire parents and inspire the caregivers that they are walking this journey not just alone, but with them, side by side.
Children are a gift from God, and all children are able differently. And the fact that we are now offering CBC, we are allowed to integrate them in our system and in the curriculum.
With this being the Autism Awareness Month, the plight of the parents with autistic children remains for the Ministry of Health to create more awareness so as the society will be more accommodating to the people living with autism. Ruth Wanjiru for KU TV.
Thank you, Ruth Wanjiru, for that report on autism. Now, 5 people have died in a grisly road accident at Amabuko along Kisii-Keroka Highway. 5 others were rushed to hospital in the area for emergency medical attention. The deceased 3 adults and 2 minors included a student at Miranda High School who was traveling home. Masaba North Sub-County Police Commander Robert Ndambiri confirmed the incident, saying it occurred when a public service vehicle heading to Keroka town tried to overtake a motorcyclist and collided with an oncoming trailer. Bodies of the victims were transferred to Gucha Hospital mortuary in Keroka town. The area OCPD urged drivers using the section of the road to reduce speed and be observant owing to the heavy rains pounding the area and number of accidents witnessed so far.
Matatu was trying to overtake a motorcycle, but unfortunately it collided head-on with the trailer which was coming from Keroka side. As a result, we have incurred 5 deaths. 3 are adults, 2 are minors, and 1 minor was a student from Miranda High School.
All right, we are taking another second short break at this point, so stay with us.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Kipindi hewani ni mitindo ya kipwani. Kama ilivyo kipindi hiki kinahusu nyimbo za tarab, chakacha, midwara, midundiko, bila kusahau mapishi. Ambao ndio uti wa mgongo wa pwani ya Afrika Mashariki.
Jamani, swaibu zangu mliopo maskani, hatuonani wenzangu, najua mwanitamani.
Hapa KUTV, nahodha mwendesha chombo cha baharini, yani ua linalonukia na kuvutia waridi tamu.
I say, some people look at me and they're like, oh, Tabi is a software engineer, or why are you not doing software engineering? I could do it, I can code if I want to, but is that where my passion is? No, for me that thing that I loved was community, and when I realized that, I was doing it as a voluntary thing, but when I realized that, oh, this is something that you can actually do it as a career, so I said, okay, I made the switch because it's something I can do very well at any point in time. And even some of the products like Google Crafts, so if you ask me about it, I can really tell you about it without even having to look at any point, you know.
All right, welcome back. Now on to our story of the day. President William Ruto this evening issued a press briefing in State House, Nairobi, to talk about the state of the nation, including the Azimio One Kenya coalition demonstrations, highlighting attacks, chaos and disruptions that have been witnessed in the country in the past 2 weeks. The president asked the opposition leader Raila Odinga and his counterparts to call off the demonstrations. Eliud Mutweri with a detailed report on that.
President William Ruto has called for bipartisan dialogue with the opposition hours before tomorrow's opposition demonstrations, which the ODM leader Raila Odinga had said will be the mother of all demonstrations.
And in view of the recent events that led to loss of life and destruction of property in the demonstrations that have occasioned in our country for the last 2 weeks, I urge my brother Raila Odinga and the opposition to call off the demonstrations and to give this bipartisan approach a chance for us to take the country forward.
The president, in today's address to the nation, has highlighted the negative impact that the 2 weeks Azimio demonstrations had on the economy, while noting that his administration will not allow its efforts to revive the economy to be derailed.
My administration has instituted solid measures and policies to attract investors and through their investment create opportunities for millions of our young people to realize their potential, amongst many of the other issues that we are doing as government. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot allow these efforts to be derailed by acts of violence, chaos, and anarchy.
The president, who has now extended a gesture of dialogue to the opposition, has asked for dialogue in parliament in regards to the reconstitution of the IEBC Commission.
Considering the matters raised by our friends in the opposition, I suggest a bipartisan engagement in parliament on the reconstitution of the IEBC panel within the parameters of the law and the constitution.
The president's urge to call off Azimio demonstrations and hold dialogue come a day after a section of leaders allied to the ruling party United Democratic Alliance UDA asked the president not to allow Odinga in government.
Hebu niwaulize, mnataka handshake? Nataka ifikie William Ruto na Rigiji. Mnataka handshake? Hebu nione kwa mikono, mnataka handshake?
The leaders, including Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire, her Kirinyaga counterpart Anne Waiguru, and UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala, had said that the government will not be pushed into talks with the opposition. The move by the president calling for dialogue comes amidst the backdrop of piling pressure towards the government due to Azimio demonstrations and the president strongly dismissing the possibility of a handshake with opposition leaders. Mutweri Eliud, KUTV.
Farmers in Laikipia County have been urged to plant drought-resistant and early maturing crops to avert hunger during poor rainy seasons. Laikipia County Commissioner Joseph Kanyiri says diversifying crops like cassava and early maturing vegetables would caution residents from hunger in future and lower the cost of food produce.
Joseph Kanyiri, who is the county commissioner for Laikipia County, has said that they have already received a consignment of fertilizer in Nyahururu County. In addition to that, Kanyiri said that farmers have started benefiting from the government's subsidized fertilizer program.
Tayari tumepata shehena ya fertilizer sehemu za Nyahururu, ambapo mwanzo tulipata magunia 2,400, kisha tukapata 1,100, na hii leo tumeweza kupata magunia mengine 1,120 ambayo inazidi kugawiwa wananchi ambao wamepata hizi jumbe na ambazo zinawaelekeza waende wapokee fertilizer.
In Laikipia East, Farmers have also been receiving fertilizer at the Nanyuki National Cereals and Produce Board Depot. A bag of 50 kilograms fertilizer retailed at 3,500 as directed by the government. Kanyiri has encouraged farmers to register themselves so that they can be able to benefit from the government's plans.
Na kwa hivyo basi tunaona huu mradi wa serikali wa fertilizer unaleta nafuu kwa wananchi na wakaji wa Laikipia. Tumeshirikiana kwa karibu na county government kusambaza hizi fertilizer kama kule sehemu za Kinamba, sehemu za Marmanet, ili wananchi wakaweza kuipata kwa karibu.
All types of trees are expected to be planted, including fruit trees, as the rains being experienced at the moment are said to be increasing their survival. Joy Minor, KUTV, Nairobi.
Now, the World Bank, through the Government Emergency Locust Response Program, ELRP, has allocated 17.9 million Kenya shillings to compensate farmers who incurred losses following the locust invasion of 2020. The program, which is set to benefit residents in Evo, Rore, Muminji, Kiamabere, Makima, Nginda, and Kagari in North Wards in Embu County, will help affected farmers restore their sources of income.
Farmers in Embu County have finally received a 17.9 million shillings bounty from the World Bank as compensation for the losses they incurred during a locust invasion 3 years ago. The funds, which were channeled through the Government Emergency Locust Response Program, are set to benefit farmers in 6 wards that were affected during the invasion. The wards affected include Muminji, Kiamebere, Makima, and Kagari North wards. Cecily Mbarire is the Embu County Governor.
The project focuses on 3 priority areas. 1, micro projects, which is funding to community investment groups, CIGs, whose ceiling is 250,000 for crops and livestock-based inputs and packets, and 300,000 for goats restocking.
Mbarire, who was speaking while handing over checks to beneficiaries in Embu town, said the initiative was aimed at assisting farmers get back on their feet, adding that among the beneficiaries were 51 common interest groups that received 6.8 million for restocking of bees, poultry, and dairy goods.
The objective of this project is to prevent and respond to livelihood threats posed by the desert locust outbreak and strengthen preparedness of our communities.
According to Mbarire, they have plans in place to work closely with the Kenya Meat Commission in a livestock offtake program to cushion farmers from losses of animals during the dry season. The affected wards, including Evorore, Muminji, Kiamebere, Makimangina, and Kagari North wards, also receiving checks for value chain including dairy, poultry, beekeeping, and a crop such as green grams. Yvonne Kemuma, KUTV.
Now let's take a look at what's happening in the world of sports. Sigone's home player Jeng Ki was crowned the winner of the Diamond Trust Bank DTB golf tournament held yesterday at the Sigone Golf Club in Limuru, Kiambu County. Ki capitalized on his current best form and the course's good condition to return an impressive total of 43 points to claim the title, beating his closest challenger Solomon Kanja on 41 points. According to Alvin Mokaya, the head of marketing at DTB, the tournament aims to grow the sport as well as boost businesses by bringing services closer to their customers and offering networking opportunities. Last year, the bank held 5 golf tournaments that saw over 1,000 participants take part.
Off is because if you look at again our customer base, a lot of professionals, a lot of business people, they want the networking opportunity. So golf is a strong passion point for them. And we, being a customer-led bank, we listened to the voice of the customer. And so golf became one of those things that our customers kept on asking for and saying, why don't you bring us together and give us that opportunity to network and to know each other? And that is exactly what is happening.
We had a great experience out there. We were playing with lower handicaps, and I'm playing on a higher handicap. So it was just a really fun day out. The weather's great. The organizer's great. Everything tee off was on time. We didn't have to wait after we finished the first 9. It's been a really good day.
The Football Kenya Federation FKF Mozart Bet Cup round of 16 matches was underway today in different stadiums. Kakamega Homeboys dumped defending champions Gor Mahia after a close 1-0 win over the league leaders at Bukungu Stadium. Elsewhere, AFC Leopards joined Homeboys after beating Miranga's Seals by a solitary goal as KCB progressed after winning the penalty shootout against Bidco after their match ended in a 1-1 draw. Bandari and Kariobangi Sharks are also through to the quarterfinals. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for staying with us and choosing to stay with KUTV Weekend Prime. Let's meet again tomorrow, inshallah, for the Primetime News Money Monday. My name is ODIDA. I'm in the company of Samuel Kelo, our sign language interpreter tonight. Have yourself a good night.